The Xiaomi Redmi Pad SE is a new entry-level tablet that costs under $200, and yet it offers an 11-inch 90Hz display, plenty of RAM, and a large internal storage, as well as a metal body and up-to-date software. But is it really as good as Xiaomi says? That's what you will learn in this review, and we start with the hardware and performance. Inside the Xiaomi Redmi Pad SE sits a Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 octa-core processor, which is supported by 4GB, 6GB, or even 8GB of RAM, depending on the version. That is quite a lot of memory, especially in this price range. The internal storage is 128GB in all versions, and there's a microSD card slot. Benchmarks show that the CPU performance is pretty good, especially in the Geekbench 5 multi-core test. It's almost in the same league as the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, but the single-core performance is a bit weaker. The graphics performance is a good deal weaker because the Redmi Pad SE is even below the first Redmi Pad here, and tablets like the Lenovo Tab P11 Gen 2 are noticeably stronger. This is exactly what the 3D Mark Wildlife test shows. Here the Redmi Pad SE is also weaker than the first Redmi Pad, and it's even a bit weaker than the aging Samsung Galaxy Tab A8. So it cannot score with graphics performance, and that's exactly what my gaming test confirms. Almost all games run smoothly and often surprisingly so. I was able to play the racing game Asphalt 9 very smoothly, which I think is also due to the comparatively large memory and the 90Hz display. So it runs, yes, but the graphics do not look particularly pretty, but rather quite pixelated. PUBG Mobile also runs surprisingly smoothly, really pretty good, but here you can only set the graphics to balanced, which is the lowest, and the graphics don't look very good. But it's playable. So the Redmi Pad SE is rather not a gaming tablet. However, the tablet manages everything else pretty well. Browsing in Chrome, watching YouTube and Netflix, as well as emails, newsreaders, all that runs pretty well. And even when you open apps quickly one after another, that works. Sure, not as good as on a premium tablet, but really good for the price range. We get an 11-inch IPS display on the Redmi Pad SE, which offers a resolution of 1920 by 1200 pixels and a pixel density of 207 ppi. That's less than almost any smartphone, but I think it's sufficient. Full HD is okay. The display is definitely a highlight at this price, as it's a 90Hz screen. Competitors usually just have a 60Hz display, so animations and even some games can look particularly smooth. The simple Redmi Pad also has a 90Hz screen, but the original price is around $100 more. I also like the fact that it is relatively bright with 400 nits. Not as bright as the iPad 10, but brighter than many other tablets. I read with it outside in a cafe in the sun, and when the contrast of the content is high, like with a white background with black font, I could read pretty well with it. A dark movie is out of the question in direct sunlight though. Other qualities are also solid. Contrast is good, so is color reproduction, it's fully laminated, and you can watch Netflix in HD resolution. Overall, a good display and a good tablet for Netflix and YouTube, because the sound quality of the 4 speakers is also good. By the way, an active stylus is not supported, and no, the pens of the Xiaomi Pad 5 and 6 do not work either. The Redmi Pad SE looks and feels like a high quality tablet. We get a metal body that is 7.36mm thin and weighs 478 grams. The transition from the display to the case is not as high quality as on the iPad Pro, but overall the build quality is great. Xiaomi offers it in lavender purple, graphite gray, and mint green. On the sides we get a power button and the volume rocker, as well as a microSD card slot, a USB-C 2.0 port, and even a headphone jack. A fingerprint reader is missing, sadly. There's a 5MP front-facing camera at the front, and the camera at the back offers 8MP. Both take decent pictures, but do not win any awards, of course. The Redmi Pad SE runs Android 13 out of the box, including the Google Play Store, and MIUI version 14 sits on top of Android, which is exactly the same software that we already know from the simple Redmi Pad thanks to updates, but also roughly from the Xiaomi Pad 5 and 6. I think Xiaomi is actually surprisingly good with updates. The first Redmi Pad has already received major version updates, and the Pad 5 and 6 are also kept up to date. Since I got the Redmi Pad SE, it has also received a few minor updates. That is great, because that was not the case for many Android tablets for a long time. The MIUI interface is quite customized compared to standard Android. All apps are placed on the home screen out of the box and there's no app library. It's nice that the dock is built in, with which you can quickly open two apps next to each other. It's also great that the Google Play Store and almost all Google apps are preloaded. However, I don't think Xiaomi's own apps, including the browser, are useful, but you do not have to use them. In my battery test, the Redmi Pad SE achieved a runtime of 8.75 hours. That is a very solid result. For this test, I always run an HD YouTube video at maximum brightness in an endless loop. So, is the Xiaomi Redmi Pad SE a good tablet? Overall, yes. You've seen it. We get a high quality metal case, a pretty display that's quite bright and supports 90Hz, as well as solid speakers and up-to-date software. I also like that we get a relatively large amount of RAM and internal storage. However, it's not perfect. Especially the graphics performance could be a good bit better. Therefore, I cannot recommend it as a gaming tablet. It's also less suitable for working or studying, since there's neither an official keyboard cover nor an active pen. Instead, it's a good entertainment tablet for Netflix and YouTube, but also for surfing the internet, answering emails and so on. If you already have the first Redmi Pad, it's definitely not worth upgrading. The SE is not designed for that. The two are very similar. An interesting alternative is the Lenovo Tab P11 Gen 2. Although it's a bit more expensive, the tablet offers a slightly better performance, an optional keyboard cover, and it even has a 120Hz display. I reviewed it as well, of course.